Welcome back. You're listening to Masters of Reinvention. I'm Angela Watson Robertson, and my guest today is Dianne Bischoff James. We are talking about her book, The Real Brass Ring. This is her lovely book. I just finished it a few days ago. It's a fabulous read. And Dianne, I wanted to talk a little bit about relationships because I know that was a big part of your journey. It's a big part of all of our journeys as humans. So you talk a lot about in your book about your separation and your divorce from your ex-husband. And while you were separated with your husband, but living in the same home, and before you told your children, which was several years, you kind of refer to it as a time of living a double life during that time. I'm wondering, what was it like to live that way, to be in that kind of moved on place, but still kind of in a holding place. And I'm asking this because I have several clients right now who are in that exact place where they know where they're going, but they're still where they're at right now, specifically in a marriage.
Well, I had a particularly unusual situation because we had a big property, a really expensive property, and I think that's part of the reason that we did the double life for a while. So to answer your question, part of it was amazing and fabulous. I call it my cougar dating stage, where I didn't have to worry about the finances at the time because we were still in it together. I was able to run downtown in my little red convertible, and I felt like the entire world had been lifted off my shoulders. So I think it was the first time I actually really got to experience and fall in love with who I was as a person. And that was my first time ever. And I was probably about 45 years old. And I had no agenda. I just wanted to enjoy. I just wanted to meet nice people and have fun. So part of it was maybe one of the best times I ever had in my entire life. And then, but like everything, it's always upside, downside. The down part was that I was living a lie. Now, going through that at the time, I did it to protect the children. I didn't want to hurt the children. I needed to be myself. I needed to be the person I came here to be. But I do also consider it to be one of the hardest things I ever did because I do think it was a mistake. And I will share that. I had the recent client come to me, same situation. She was ready to move on. She'd already found another house. She found a new location. She was signing the divorce papers, and the children couldn't figure out why she was sleeping in the bed with her daughter. And so I said, I just have to share from my own personal experience, the lies that I did at that time became an issue with my children later on. And I've asked for their forgiveness. They knew I was doing it in their best interest, but in hindsight, that was a mistake. It was a lack of courage on my part. And since then, that was a big kick in the seat of the pants to me because I had to tell them. They knew it. Children are sensitive. They know what's going on. So being in truth with your children, to me, in hindsight, would have been the right thing to do way, way, way earlier. The minute that we knew that we were going to end the relationship, that would have been a healthier move. So I usually coach everyone that I work with. Being in integrity is the single most important thing you can do in your entire life. And your children will benefit from knowing that you're in your truth. So we came clean. We all had it out. We talked to professionals. We went to therapists, and now they're super healthy, wonderful kids. But I did something that was, maybe a little selfish in the moment because I needed to find my happy place again. But at the same time, I would have handled it differently. If I could rewind the clock, I would have done it differently. I would have gotten into a smaller place, let go of all the trappings, and been more in truth. But regardless, here's the beauty though, everything can be handled with healthy communication. So even if you make a mistake, even if you don't do it perfectly, clearing it up with people, everyone just wants to know what your truth is, and they want to make sure you're in integrity with them and they're in integrity with you.
Yeah, so you keep talking about telling your truth, and I love the chapter in your book about the truth telling. And it seemed like you got to a point in your journey where you said, I just need to start telling the truth with everyone. And I love the story of starting to tell, really speak your truth with the other moms at school, with your soon-to-be ex-husband, with your, boyfriend. And it was really inspiring and made me kind of look at areas of my life. It's like, where am I, not truth telling? So, and when it comes to being a midlife reinventionist, which you talk about, in your book, and you refer to yourself as that, is truth telling kind of that first step, or at least a very integral part to, rebooting your life and changing your life course?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that truth actually comes from the self first. So let's go back into that bubble, kind of just that as the analogy. You have to be honest with yourself and looking at your areas of life and looking at the areas that are working for you and the ones that are not, and really identifying it and just coming clean with yourself first. So that's kind of where you have to start. How do you feel? Are you in any pain? What's going on? Are you actually doing the work that you love? Are you pursuing your passion? Are you using that phenomenal genius that you have, which is your spirit, your supreme self? Are you connecting with it? Are you even listening? I have clients that come to me. One of the questions I always ask them is, do you heed your messages? And it's really funny because I would say probably almost everybody says, yeah, not really. Meaning we're getting intuition, we're getting feedback, we're getting ideas, people are saying things to us, and we don't really listen. So it's about coming clean with all of that. Now, here's what's really funny about the outside. Okay, so you've been clean. Let's say you're clean with yourself now, and you're really coming to your own truth. Now you're going to start expressing it in the outside world. Well, the funny thing is that you don't get to control how anybody else responds. And that's the funny thing. We want to be able to say our truth, but have everyone say then back what we want them to say.
Yes. We want to be able to control that outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So we're about actually out of time today. So hold that thought, Dianne. Okay. But before we go, I want to make sure we have time to share one more time with our listeners how they can get in touch with you, where your book's available, and also any of those events that you have coming up.
Okay. Just reach out to me at dianne.net. and get your 14 shortcuts for happy living. The book is called The Real Brass Ring, Change Your Life Course Now. So you grab at that real brass ring. And I'll be at the Natural Living Expo in November, the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo in November in Rhode Island. And I'll be at the Awakened Expo at Tarrytown, New York. And all of those are in November, and they're all on my site.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dianne, and being with me and being so open about your journey and so vulnerable. You are an inspiration, and I really loved your book. So we don't have just a few seconds. One quick message that you would like to leave our listeners with today?
Grab at the real brass ring, because your life is filled with endless possibilities, and it's never too late.
Never too late. I love that. So thank you, my dear listeners, for joining us today. Again, I'm Angela Watson Robertson. If you'd like to connect with me, you can go to my website at angelawatsonrobertson.com. Please join me the first Tuesday of every month at noon Central Time for Masters of Reinvention, your ultimate guide to changing your life. Each month, I'll be interviewing masters in the art of life reinvention, other masters just like Dianne, and giving you practical tools that you can start applying for a better life today. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next month.